Okay, today's topic of presentation is just India's water and agriculture management. So what we will be doing is we will be looking into our past, India's past, especially how we are managing water, how we are, producing crops, how much water we are consuming, the present situation as such, how we are, we are getting so much of droughts, floods as such, and what is the future situation as such. How are we going to plan for the future demands and how to mitigate. Categorize our presentation into like six main topics. Let's first we will be starting with introduction to water and agriculture, like basics of water and agriculture, how much water are we using, how much are we producing in India, and then we'll move on to addressing what are the challenges faced by this water agriculture nexus. Then we'll discuss, I will briefly discuss about scope for development, followed by further develop directions for agriculture water management, and finally latest technologies and development in agriculture. Here we'll be discussing about big data, machine learning, AI, about those kind of stuff, and finally what are the career opportunities, how to get into this field, and how to sustain in it. See, water India, water not only in India but for any human life form, it permeates through our cultural, social, economic, and political fabric. It just without going into further details, let's see what are the stats of India's water. So India accounts for 4% of world's renewable water resource, but even though we contribute only 4%, India contribute about 18% of global population, and we contribute about 2% of total land mass. Yeah, and our average annual rainfall is about 1,170 mm, which is much higher than the global average of 990 mm. And most of the rainfall we receive during the month of June to September. We hear about monsoon season of northeast monsoon, southwest monsoon. So during that period, we receive about 80% of our rainfall. And within those 4 months, we receive about 50% of the rainfall during a 15-day period. Immediately after the onset of monsoon, we receive about 50%. About 600 mm of annual rainfall in India is received in 15 days. That's a huge, when compared to the rest of the world, it's a huge, rainfall variability. And one more stat we have to look into is 80% of area receives more than like 750 mm of rainfall. So it just it just goes on to show that India receives a slightly higher amount of rainfall when compared to global average. Coming into agriculture part of India, if you look at this pie chart, it shows which sector is consuming more amount of water. If you see like around 78 to 80% of water is being used for agriculture, 6% for domestic and livestock, that is about drinking, cleaning, cooking and stuff. 5% is for industry and industry usage for production and stuff. 3% is for power. Either it can be for nuclear power plants, thermal or coal power plants. Yeah. And finally, about 8% is rest of the stuff like other, apart from these main sectors, we'll be using for those sectors as such. So when you consume this, when you look at this, India's by far the largest user of fresh water, especially agriculture sector. It's about, even though we are, India's population is about, we are second to China, and land mass is also like second to China, but we consume more, fresh water when compared to the biggest country in China. And agriculture sector consumes about 600 billion meter cubes of water, second highest in the world. And India is a country which is heavily reliant on groundwater. About India's out of the about 60% of agriculture in India is irrigated agriculture, and 85% of drinking water is met with groundwater dependent. So let me go a little bit, detail into groundwater sector, because India actually consumes more amount of groundwater when compared to the rest of the world combined altogether. Let's say, so in India, groundwater acts as a critical buffer against the variability in rain. So there is such rainfall shortage, we immediately fall back to groundwater by pumping from tube wells or bore wells without any, monitoring mechanisms. To give a sense of idea, like how far we have come in the past to the present, the rainfall deficit in 1963 to 66. That is where India suffered a huge famine. After that, India, increased that green revolution in India took place. So during those period, India's food production is reduced by about 20%. But a similar kind of drought that happened in this around 1987 to 88 had a very small impact on food production. It's primarily due to widespread use of groundwater by the time. Yeah, it's mainly due to unauthorized or illegal pumping out of water from groundwater. And but unfortunately, we didn't put enough brakes on the wheels to stop the trend. Currently, about 29-30% of the groundwater blocks in India is in semi-critical, critical, or overexploited zones. And if the trend continues, in 20 years, about 60% of all the aquifers in India will be in critical condition. So, as I mentioned earlier, like 60% of irrigated agriculture is from it with the groundwater. So, just imagine 65 out of the 65%, 25% of the land area will not be met with any kind of water. This will be a serious implication for the sustainability of agriculture, long-term food scarce security, livelihoods, and economic growth. And looking into the key challenges in the water and agriculture management is inadequate and outdated water infrastructure and policies. I will go deep into the policies in the later slides. And water bodies are severely polluted and over obstructed during the lean seasons, especially during drought seasons. Unsustainable groundwater exploitation, over a quarter of global total. And finally, this is the key point that majority of the Indian reformist or agriculturalist and major government agencies miss out on. So India captures about only roughly around 8.5% of the annual rainfall through groundwater recharge. Around 92%, 91% of the water return back to in the form of overboard transpiration, or it goes back to the ocean itself. So it's a very very low when compared to the global average, especially in a country like India, which heavily reliant on agriculture, since like 56% of India's population is dependent on agriculture. So that's a big data to look into. And the final data is we have very low per capita water availability. So some of the data we have is like every day we have like per person in India is allocated about 100 to 120 liters of water. That's the minimum requirement. But the water availability is an entire game altogether. So if you look at this data from the FAO, which is FAO and the joint study from World Bank, in 1962, the global average was 13,000 cubic meters per person per year actually. But if you look at India's data, that's about 3,000 cubic meters of water per year. Even during those 50 years back, even when there was no technologies to extract that much amount of water, even then we were lagging behind. And you look at the current scenario, around India has about 1,100 cubic meters of per capita water availability. So in the sense that only about 1,100 cubic meters of water is available per person per year in India, but compared to the global average of about 6,000 cubic meters. So this black and red line shows that black line shows the scarcity threshold. This was defined by World Bank. It's about 1,700 cubic meters. So if the per capita water availability falls below this level, there should be an immediate response from the government agencies, other water management agencies to look into water storage structure. So either it can be improved by constructing new dams, increasing the storage in dams, increasing the storage in irrigation tanks, pumps, etc. But when it crosses the red line, which is a scarcity threshold about 1,000 cubic meters per year, that's when there is like severe shortage of water. So if you look at it, like 3 years back, people around from Tamil Nadu will have a sense of this thing. Chennai had a severe, water shortage. That's primarily because there was no adequate infrastructure to meet the growing demands as such. So right now, India's water demand lingers around the stress threshold. So if proper actions are not taken in the next decade or so, we will be in the stress threshold, and similar situations faced by Chennai will be faced by a lot of other cities in India. Some of the key challenges in the agriculture and domestic sectors are increased water demand projected across all sectors. So in the agriculture sector, crop water use efficiency of 30 to 40%. So let me go a little bit in explaining what crop water use efficiency is. So if you are applying 100 liters of water for a paddy field, rice field, right now the methodologies, the farm practices we are using, based on this, the rice consumes about only 30 to 40 liters of water. The rest 70 to 60 to 70 liters of water is lost due to evaporation or conveyance losses. So this is the lowest among the world. So when it compares to global average, it's about 50%. Let's, for example, if you are applying 100 liters of water in a field, 50% is absorbed by the plants. But in India, it's about 30 to 40%. It's again comes to water intensive farm practices. We haven't changed our farm practices for the past 50 to 60 years, especially like 15% of India's food produced using mined non-renewable groundwater. So what I mean by non-renewable groundwater here is when some of the people who have worked in groundwater, especially people who know the concepts of confined and unconfined aquifers, if you draw water from a confined aquifer, that is called non-renewable groundwater. So we are, we're just drilling bore wells to a depth of 1,000 feet to 2,000 feet to get, and also we are, overproducing water intensive crops. So what are water intensive crops in India? For example, rice is a water intensive crop. People who have come from an agriculture background or either their families involved in agriculture would know that in India, like we used to flood our farm fields with water for rice cultivation. But as some of the research being done in the developing countries, it goes on to show that you don't have to discharge that much amount of water into paddy fields. So that is one of the, like, India is also a largest producer of rice and wheat. So that is one of the challenges India is facing right now. Challenges faced by the sector is inadequate or outdated infrastructure. If you look at the dams and irrigation dams, canals, rivers, and all the water infrastructure, it has not been renovated. New structures cannot be constructed in the past like 20 to 30 years. It's primarily due to political reasons, especially in South Indian regions. But this is the thing that we have to look into much deeper. And domestic sector, like in India, right, if you take our households, my household or any other households or industries, the water, about 30 to 40% of the water that is supplied to a domestic lead is lost in conveyance losses, either in leakages, service pipes and walls leakages there. So 30% is a large sum of water. If you see, right now we about, if you look at the graph here, about 42% and 34% of the domestic and industrial water use. That's about 34 billion cubic meters of water. 30 to 40%, that's about 10 billion cubic meters of water that's just lost due to improper service pipes and walls. So like if people are more about the water stress India is facing right now, they will be much more involved in maintaining these pipelines and leakage. Also, the industrial plants in India consume about 2 to 3.5 times more than the global average. So Indian factories, when compared to global factories, we consume a lot of water. It's mainly due to outdated production practices. Like usually, if you go to a factory and look at it, like there will be a machine which is like 50 to 60 years old. But when you look at the other developing countries which are more water efficient, they will keep on changing their production mechanisms and other machineries to meet the growing water demands and increase the water efficiency. And also India is, cursed with inadequate water treatment plants, about around 10% of the total water produced. So if you look at this graph, this shows what will be our future demand the next 10 years, like in the year 2025 and 2050. If you look at the agriculture sector, there is a huge spike in 2025, but there will be sudden, fall in demand in agriculture sector by 2050. This is mainly due to the latest technologies and farm practices introduced by the Indian government. Right now, Indian government is largely promoting drip irrigation, sprinkler irrigation, other water efficient farm practices. So right now, these practices will come into effect after 2025 to 2030. So that's why by the year 2050, you will be able to, have a sustainable agriculture practices. But when it comes to domestic and industrial sectors, it keeps on increasing. It's about uh, 30, about 200% in the next 5 years, and about another 70% in by the year 2050. It's about 30% increase across each decade. Even in the industrial sector, it increases from 42 billion cubic meters of water to 92 to 161. That's about 15 percentage points. So if you look on, let's say, okay, these are the demands that you have been facing. So this estimate is done by the organization that I am currently working with, which is International Water Management Institute. We have developed this projected demands for along with the partnership with World Bank and Food and Agriculture Organization (FAO). I have discussed a lot of keywords earlier. So just let me have a brief description of each of the concepts that I used earlier. Water use efficiency, that is beneficial consumptive water use. I earlier mentioned about out of the 100 liters we are applying, only 40 liters will be consumed by plants. So that 40% or the 40 liters will be called as beneficial consumptive against the total water availability. So if you are applying 100 liters and only 40% is consumed, your water use efficiency will be about 40%. And high or low water use efficiency does not indicate a high or low productivity. The productivity can be land productivity or water productivity. So even if you are increasing the efficiency of water, the water productivity may not be increased. Like, let's say if you are getting, right now in India's average is about 3 to 4.5 tons of paddy per hectare. Even if you implement water use efficiency mechanism, there will be no guarantee that the productivity increase from 3.5 to 4.5 or much higher than that. In the water productivity still has further two concepts below that, which are physical water productivity, which is production, that is kilogram per meter cube of water, and economic water productivity, that is how much income are you getting per meter cube of water. Physical water improving physical water productivity can aggravate condition in water scarce basins. Increasing economic water productivity can increase income, resilience, enhance water and resource use efficiency, and accelerating economic growth. These are the key goals of SDG 6, 8, and 12. This SDG means is Sustainable Development Goals, which has been laid out by UNDP, World Bank, and United Nations. UNDP is United Nations Development Program. So they have listed out 15 sustainable development programs for an efficient and sustainable water and agriculture management. SDG 6, 8, and 12, these issues can be addressed. So one of the key concepts we have to is where and how physical or economic water productivity can be increased in a river basin and the social economic trade-off. And finally, agriculture water productivity takes into account of multiple water uses at farm scale, command system or system level, including crops, horticulture, forestry, and livestock. The one more thing that we have missed out earlier was that in the domestic sector, especially in urban residents, increasingly rely on groundwater, due to unreliable and inadequate, municipal water supplies. Because in like many of the people know that depending on municipal water supply is not at all a practical solution altogether in India. So even in urban areas, people just dig up a lot of borewells and just pump out water altogether. And also India is also the largest exporter of water. Exporter of water in the sense that is like amount of water required to produce certain amount of goods that which in turn is exported to other countries. So let's say, for example, India is exporting like 1 lakh tons of rice to other countries. As I mentioned earlier, in India, we consume a lot of water for producing paddy. So we'll be exporting that entire water to the other countries in the form of wheat. So that is one of the things you have to look into it. And India is also one of the largest water use per unit of GDP. And also, earlier I mentioned about excessive withdrawal of groundwater. This has a severe impact on India's GDP because right now most of you know that Indian government or state governments provide free electricity to all the farmers. So which leads to unsustainable water extraction. But due to the subsidies provided in electricity, it is costing about 1% of India's GDP. Just because government is providing free electricity to farmers, etc. altogether. To combat this right now, Indian government along with World Bank is developing a new program called DBTE, which is called Direct Benefit Transfer of Electricity. So what does it mean is the farmer has to pay the whatever the electricity is consuming. After that, the government will direct transfer the money for the amount they have paid. So this will give a little bit of a warning sense to the farmers that they are paying it upfront, so that they have to be careful in water usage as such. And improving. So we have discussed about the key water management, introduction to water management, and key challenges faced in India. Now let's move on to how can we improve the water management. First step is bridging the demand supply gap, improving the water infrastructure by building dams and its associated infrastructure, check dams, irrigation tanks, ponds, groundwater recharge structures. Recently, the World Bank, along with the UN organizations, have declared about 261 dams in India needs to be renovated, to meet the growing demands. Especially these 261 dams are located in 5 states in India. In Tamil Nadu, about 105 dams need to be, which are including major and minor dams, needs to be renovated immediately. In Kerala, about 53 dams, Karnataka, about 27 dams, Madhya Pradesh, about 50 dams, and Odisha, about 26 dams. If these dams in these particular states are, updated, you will have a, huge, you will be able to, increase the supply, augment the water store in there. And moving on to the next point is improving the efficiency of water storage structure. So what I mean by improving the efficiency of water storage structures is there are like check dams, ponds and stuff. There will be, if they are storing 100 liters of water in those structures, for example, about 20 to 30% is lost in, cracks in the dams or cracks in the canals, or it is lost due to evaporation due to excessive temperature. So you have to make sure that there will be very loss from the water storage. Further, we are moving on to improvement in asset management and emergency preparedness plans, building and strengthening institutional capacity, improving the knowledge among water user associations and other groups, improving data monitoring analysis, decision support systems. Decision support systems are nothing but tools or applications that helps government bodies, individuals, farmers, municipalities to help manage better their supply of water based on the supply demands. And finally, joint water management solutions, which are public and private partnerships. And finally, the improving per capita water availability. Earlier it was about India is about always lies in the stress and scarcity threshold. So you have to make sure that India doesn't fall below the stress threshold, so that no one in India has to face a similar situation that was faced by people in Chennai like 3 years.